Down south, and now Pete Bouchard is going to tell us exactly what's happening and what we can expect in the hours to come.
All right, Dan. Yep, we're watching the heavy snows now come in a band offshore. It looks like the ocean effect trying to set up right over Boston through the Harbor Islands. Quincy involved in this too, Norwood, and back into Sharon. It seems to ease up a little bit. Go for the dark navies. That's where you'll find the moderate snow. Maybe some big snowflakes hitting too. But up to Beverly and Swampscott, over to Bedford, it's lighter. Lawrence is waiting. And Amesbury too, and out through Cape Ann to Topsfield to Gloucester and Rockport. Then we're back to Hopkinton with light snow in Milford as well. Down to the Cape and down through Buzzards Bay. It's a moderate snow. Reports of it trying to stick to some of the roads, but the temperatures are up there from Plymouth to Bourne right now, and the storm itself is starting to, it looks like, get a wedge of dry air in it. That's not to say that we're going to shut this precip off. This is typically what happens in nor'easters. You get involved in this band and you just sit there and you wait for the storm to pass before this band shuts down. Heavier rains offshore too. The storm is blossoming and you can see it kind of grow out like that. All the precip concentrated now around the center of the storm and to points north and northeast of the storm. The track is almost set. You could see it almost here on radar between the rain and the snow line that will follow along that temperature discontinuity. So the low looks like it may clip Cape Cod. Your current temperatures are running in the 20s for the most part around Greater Boston, down through Norwood, and down through Plymouth about 34 degrees. We were in the lower 40s in Hyannis. The temperatures have flopped back and forth. Again, not a lot of snow sticking out on the Cape right now, but it is trying to stick in New Bedford. The road salt's working very nicely down through Plymouth and New Bedford too, with these temperatures running in the lower 30s, upper 20s though in Providence. You can talk about some sticking. Now that rain snow line pushing back to Scituate, back into Plymouth, and maybe right to Route 24. We could get it as far west as Brockton and Bridgewater, but that might be pushing it because the storm may shove it back. As it gets really intense, the snow will actually push back the warm air, push it back to the coastline. So temperature may go near 30 degrees, could fall back into the upper 20s as the most intense part of the storm comes. So dense compacted snow around Boston. This will be wind driven. It comes, you know, pretty decent. It looks like a cake, a fluffy cake. But fluffy snow is in like the type that will blow off your car if you drive it around. That will be out through Worcester, really essentially from Marlborough out to Worcester, and then back through Lancaster and out of Route 2. But heavy wet snow will be out through Chatham as well. Dylan is here with more on the winds and the coastal concerns.
That's right, Pete. We do have that coastal concern with that gusty northeast wind, but we are looking at different forms of snow. And keep in mind, it looks like this is really a coastal storm with areas outside of 495 not seeing as much water equivalent. But because it's that light, fluffy snow, as you just mentioned, it just accumulates very easily, very quickly. It's also a much better place to be shoveling snow. Along the coast, though, it's that heavy, wet snow that just continues to compact down on itself and is very, very difficult to shovel. So that's sort of the difference that we're going to see. And the reason is it's colder outside of 495. 1 inch of water would equal about 10 inches of snow, where it's a little bit warmer to 33 degrees. That's where 1 inch of water could end up with about 8 inches of snow. So it's more compact and it's that heavier, wetter snow. So we will be dealing with different sort of snow ratio, but that's the snowfall concern. The coastal concern is going to be overnight until about 3, 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. That's the height of this, when winds could gust up near 60 miles per hour or slightly higher. Maybe we could get a 62-inch gust out that way. The high right at 30. We also have to compete with a storm surge upwards of around 3 feet. Again, it's that northeast wind that crosses over a big fetch of water. So all of that water just piles on shore. Seas could be running around 16 to 25 feet. Areas also out towards Chatham. Even on Chatham in the outer Cape, where you're not getting that much snow, that wind is going to be extremely gusty. So that's why we could have to deal with beach erosion, and any homes right along the water could be dealing with some significant damage from these wind gusts. Also have to worry about power outages. That heavy wet snow combined with wind gusts like that could produce some downed trees and power lines, and power outages are certainly a possibility as well. Pete?
So the screaming message, Dylan, is the heavy snow will be concentrated south and west of the city, lesser amounts, but a heavier snow as in, like, you know, texture down through the South Shore between 8 and, we'll say, from Plymouth all the way to lesser amounts out through Cape Cod. A lot of that washed away, but these snowfall amounts, these are multiple passes. And again, anytime between 10 o'clock and into 4 o'clock in the morning tonight into tomorrow, roads, snowfall rates per hour, some huge issues. So light to moderate snow, heavier after 4 p.m. And then we're looking beyond the storm. Got plans for the holiday and into the new year. Well, temperatures are actually going to warm up and things quiet down. Don't forget to check out our new 7 News weather app. Get get a constantly updated forecast, use interactive radar and weather maps to check for any storm closings. Just search WHDH in your iPhone's App Store.
Well, as Pete said, if you can, you want to stay off the roads, but if you're going to be getting back on the roads, we want to let you know what the conditions might be. We're joined on the phone now by Lisa Paywanski from the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. Lisa, if someone does find themselves having to go out on the roads, what are they likely looking at and what should they do to prepare for it?
Well, it depends on what time of day they're going out, but they should know that the snow will be accumulating very rapidly, as you just said, at 2 to 4 inches an hour. That's faster than the plows can keep up with it before it starts to accumulate again. So they will be making pass after pass, but at that rate, people would be driving on snow. So that's why we're strongly encouraging people to stay off the road at the time of the heaviest snowfall.
Hey, thank you, Lisa. We're going to have to run now quickly because we have the governor at the state emergency headquarters in Framingham talking about the storm.
Make sure you have food and water sufficient and medications sufficient to get you through tomorrow. Check in on elderly or shut-in neighbors. It's an important thing to do, and just to make sure that they have what they need as well. Take special care shoveling tomorrow. As I mentioned, we expect this snow to be heavy and wet, and we want to avoid people. If you are facing coastal community from Albury, Chatham, you should be coastal flooding accompanying the Monday morning high tide around 3 or 4 a.m. Take appropriate steps if your area is susceptible to localized flooding. Listen closely to the direct local officials and respond quickly. Water can rise very, very quickly. We'll be getting out weather and travel updates as we receive them through TV and radio outlets throughout this afternoon and tomorrow. Please feel free to visit mass.gov for the latest information on the storm and the precautions that you can take, as well as the cleanup efforts that will be underway. I want to close again by reminding people to stay put as much as possible after through the worst of the storm. I can't overstate enough how important it is for your safety and also for our response efforts to have people off the roads and indoors as much as possible. If you stay alert and follow common sense, we will get through this storm as we have many, many winters before. And I want to thank all of the emergency response organizations represented here today who have again prepared so very, very well for this storm. I'm going to give everyone a chance to hear first of all from Colonel McGovern from the State Police, and then from Secretary Mullen from MassDOT, and then we'll be happy to take your questions. Colonel?
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. And as the Governor said, we are preparing for a major storm all across the state. We are going to be having extra patrols out there. We'll be holding over patrols, bringing in patrols early. So we feel that we have a sufficient number of state police officers out there to be assisting the public. But I can't reiterate enough what the Governor has had to say. If you do not need to be out there, please stay home. I can tell already that the word has gotten out there because we are seeing a higher volume of cars and motor vehicles, especially on the Mass Pike, and that's very rewarding to us to see that people are paying attention. This is going to be, again, a major snowstorm, and we are worried and concerned about everyone's safety out there.